September 10th, 2020. And here we are in September of 2020. We are approaching our 1-year anniversary. Mike, I think it actually is our 1-year anniversary. We said this during the last episode. 38 episodes of the Nonconformist we've brought to you. We've covered the markets before the collapse. We taught you how to prepare before the collapse. You would have been prepared for the collapse this March. And on top of that, we are also witnessing and watching the end of the dollar as we know it, and what we believe and what we've been trying to prepare our subscribers for, which is a dollar collapse and the preparation of your assets onto this conversion. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about exactly that. The dollar collapse is here, and here comes the digital dollar by the Federal Reserve. One of the things that we've talked about a lot in this show since last September is the fact that Bitcoin and digital currencies were and are becoming now alternatives to the current global economy. And as the Federal Reserve Bank has now made it very clear that they're going to inflate the US dollar the fastest that they've ever done in history, most economists and major investors are, including Warren Buffett and the big names, are now transitioning to alternative assets. So tonight we have on one of my long-term friends, also kind of an undercover DL down low guy here in our region in the crypto space, Camille, who's going to give us an overview of what he's been learning from the digital dollar and what he's also been learning through some bills that have been attempted to probably be presented to Congress recently. So Camille, why don't you give them a quick overview, let them know where they could find you if they want to get a hold of you via email, and then let us know just an overview of what you've learned so far and what you think is going to happen with the Fed coin coming up, the digital currency launched by the Fed.
I mean, I'm thinking right now that right now we're at an unprecedented situation in the world right now. You know, like we're
right now. So one of the things that we've been noticing is that like the Fed has so the Fed's obviously made it clear right now, like inflation is here, the dollar as we know it as paper fiat currency is going to get printed away. And Brian Brooks, I know before this we were talking about that, Brian Brooks, the chief legal officer from Coinbase, just got appointed by Steve Mnuchin to oversee the U.S. currency and the banking industry. And that was like 5 months ago. That was the first signs we saw that the U.S. was racing towards making this digital currency. But before this, you were talking about kind of what was playing out with USDC coin and stuff like that. Like, what do you think is going to happen with that, pretty much?
Oh, what I think is going to happen, I mean, the dollar's going to become inflated, right? And that's going to lead to a loss of confidence in terms of, like, using the dollar, potentially, you know? And then people are looking into cryptocurrencies, and I believe it's going to happen. A lot of people are buying gold now. Gold is at an unprecedented high, you know? Bitcoin had a nice, you know, summer, you know, and it's still very bullish, in my opinion, you know, because of the economic uncertainty, you know? When people are uncertain about the economy and about the sort of value of their own dollar because you're inflating it away, that leaves your country open to losing its dominance, the central bank dominance, you know? And now this report I read, done by KPMG, you know, and these other companies, mentioned there's an unprecedented amount of central banks now, like 80% in 2019 were engaged with some kind of research regarding a central currency, you know? And in this report, too, it also mentioned how Jerome Powell and a lot of other people were very nervous about Facebook's Project Libra, you know, as a potential way to take control away from the central bank from printing currency, you know. So because of that, I feel like that ignited a lot of policy discussions. And now I've recently found out about this bill called the Banking Act for All. And in it, like, it says that by January 1st, 2021, to make digital wallets available to all residents and citizens of the United States. You know, this is what the proposal is. If it passes, that's another thing. You know, it was just proposed in the Senate. But if so, then we're very quickly going to see a U.S. dollar. You know, and another article I read from Forbes, and I also read it in this report too, mentioned how the Federal Reserve of Boston is working with MIT now, MIT Digital Currency Initiative, to look into having a central bank coin, and Algorand, which is a coin I'm invested in myself, was made by Silvio. I don't know his last. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But by a team at MIT, basically, so it's MIT coin essentially.
Yeah.
Algorand.
So it sounds like it's what the U.S. has always really done from a technological advancements point of view. Like we know in history on this show, we've covered DARPA and a lot of what DARPA's been from DARPA's created the internet, right? Like so.
Yeah, DARPA has worked closely with MIT on many projects before. A lot of technology has been developed. Even nanotechnology has been developed either, in conjunction with MIT or some other research institutions. But with cryptocurrency, and MIT as being one of the leading, engines pushing it, it's nothing different from what they've done in the past, like Joe was saying, right?
Exactly. And Algorand also gives you the ability to freeze accounts and take assets away. So Algorand gives you the ability to be compliant with regulations, because it seems like the central bank and the banks don't want to give up complete control of the currency to the people, So this would be a way to make sure they can control, money laundering or whatever rules they have.
So I just want to kind of give the audience kind of a frame of reference because we got some viewers coming on. Please leave comments in the comments section. What we're talking about right now is that it's been pretty well known for about a week now, ever since Jerome Powell, who runs the Federal Reserve Bank, that your dollars, look at those dollars that you have in your wallet, look at those dollars that you have in your bank account, look at those dollars that your 401k is priced in, because that's going to lose value faster than it's ever lost value in history. And we're going the way of Soviet Russia right now, and we're also going the way of Venezuela and Argentina and Zimbabwe and every country that's had this dirty paper fiat currency. It's inflating away. It's going away. The dollar collapses here. All you older people, the crazy gold bugs that talked about it in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, they were wrong then, but the Fed is telling us now that it's going to happen. So we're talking about that and also the transition that's going to occur, which is the Fed is going to freak out last minute like they are right now, and they're rushing to create a digital currency as fast as they can. Why? Because China's already got a digital yuan that they're ready to launch, because Russia's already involved, because game theory's packed in. The U.S. dollar is ending its reserve currency status, and we're going to transition. We're talking about, real quick, to just give them an overview too, Camille. We talked about the idea that this isn't anything that the U.S. hasn't done in the past, because DARPA created the internet, we created the internet. They hired the chief legal officer of Coinbase, the largest crypto exchange in the world, to oversee this all. So they knew what they were doing. But what I'm wondering, because we've talked about in the past, is how do they transition the people onto this new digital currency? We talked about Algorand. I know that they're going to launch it on a blockchain, but what Mike and I thought about, and what we still tell the viewers, is 40 to 50 million Americans are unemployed right now, and they're relying on social welfare, UBI. Like, this is paychecks that people need, not because it's their fault, but they need it. So we have a feeling that they're going to roll us on that way by creating a wallet. You talked about Algorand. Real quick, tell me a little bit about Algorand as a blockchain, because I know it's like the Ethereum 2.0 blockchain, and then tell me how you see them transitioning all of us onto this new digital currency going forward.
Algorand has pure proof of stake. Any amount will be staked, essentially. It's and anybody can participate in the network. It's very open. Right now the foundation, Algorand Foundation, unfortunately owns a lot of the supply. They're going to release the supply as soon as it's there's demand for it, right? Because right now there's not any demand for Algorand because it's not really being used as a currency yet. This is a a good potential currency, but right now it has to get demand. So yeah, it uses a pure proof of stake. It's also more decentral. It's also pretty decentralized too, because it does have that sort of staker model. So instead of having miners, like the people with the biggest rigs produce the most coins is going to be more distributed
equitably. Yeah. Those are tongue twisters.
It's also a scalable currency too. It does over 1,000 transactions per second. So way more scalable than Ethereum is right now at this point, because Ethereum right now is still a proof of work coin. It still has to transition to the staking still, and they are working on it. They did test ETH 2.0. There was a bug. They had to, try it another time. I think they're still working very hard on it because ETH is a big part of the crypto market. So a lot of people are betting on ETH 2.0. And Algorand is another sort of currency that does the same thing, because with like ETH, you can do decentralized applications, and you could do smart contracts, decentralized finance. There's a lot of different use cases for Ethereum, and a lot of those same use cases I see on Algorand too. And Algorand is very developed too. They've been working very hard to get all the features. They write a lot of white papers. The team's very active. It seems like they're really taking this seriously.
Yeah, it seems like so. It makes sense again. Like the U.S. government would kind of take a backseat role as right now the economy is crashing, the currency is going through deflation in the credit markets, inflation in the currency, and what do? They use MIT, they use the smart people in the country to like slowly build up this new blockchain that will exist, the Ethereum 2.0. For people that don't know, Ethereum was like the hype of the 2017 bull run that we had. So yeah, and I mean I've looked into it like you have, and it is the quiet seeker right now. MIT people on it. You brought up USD coin. I know that's owned by Circle. What I'm wondering, Mike, to give you reference to, because I know you've got kind of knowledge on the way that this kind of works, but USD coin, right? So USDC is a stable coin. For those in the audience that are wondering what stable coins are, is in the crypto space. If you know about the crypto space, you have Bitcoin and thousands of other cryptocurrencies you can trade. If you don't know, or you're not in the crypto space, then you know now that there are thousands of cryptos that you could trade. And there's what's called these stable coins. And all that means is that they are backed by a dollar bill. So, for example, USDC coin, 1-in-1. So they have $1 billion in a bank account, $1 billion in stable coin. This is the only one, though, Mike, that is they're backed by Circle, which is like Square, not the Winklevoss twins like the other stablecoin. Tether is the other stablecoin, which is also decentralized. So for me, it makes sense that they would back the closest government entity and banking institution they have to pump money into that fund now for that stablecoin and launch it on that Algorand platform, or what Camille's talking about.
And there was, I did look at it, there was a transaction there. Some guys on the forum were posting about it. Hey, look at this transaction. Look, they're bringing USDC coin, and it was officially announced, too, by Algorand that they are going to work with the USDC coin. So it seems like all the things are lining up. MIT is working with the Fed right now. Algorand is made by a team that's from MIT, and the USDC coin is, centralized, essentially. It's I read that Goldman Sachs is the original creator of Circle as an organization.
So what does the white paper say of how that coin would actually be based off of? Is there a limited amount? Is there not? How would it be? How can a person like myself, let's say, looking at that currency, what would that give? How can that give me value?
Well,
from that perspective, right? Because that's what we care about when it comes to currency, the value of it.
I mean, first off, credit cards get stolen all the time. I get my credit card stolen often, and it's really annoying because I have to cancel them, and I got to do all this work. I got to look for my transactions and see if I didn't miss anything, or if the automated security system didn't catch it. On the other hand, with the US dollar coin, USDC coin, which will be fungible with a dollar bill, essentially. That's how it's being designed, I feel like in the future, once it's officially regulated, they probably won't even have to hold all the dollar bills. They'll just print a USDC coin, and use that as the money supply. And
That's
they could
terrible.
actually, and they could bypass banks, I mean, I don't think they're going to want to do it, but they, technically speaking, they could do the USDC coin without an intermediary. They could just be the owners of the blockchain, and then the Fed could just directly print money as much as it needs to. So the USDC coin might be easier way to devalue our currency, the US dollar.
That does bring a problem, though, right? Because that goes back into we are pretty much going from a fiat currency to a fiat digital currency, right? Which that's what it is. If that's the type of system they're trying to adopt, then that doesn't solve anything really, right? That gives even more of a question. Is like, hey, why do I need to use that? I want to just use Bitcoin, and everybody else around the world will just think about the same thing.
Exactly.
So I think maybe that's the route they go, but that is only going to make the situation worse in the long term, I think, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think, Joe?
One of the things that we've trying to make clear is that, right now we're entering a period where there's going to be human psychology that plays into it, because people are going to really, whatever they consider valuable, they're going to hold, right, at the end of the day. The last time that we would have seen some type of currency race like this, I think with all of the fractioning currencies, was maybe during the original colonies in the U.S. when there was a New Hampshire currency that was different from a Mass currency, from a Connecticut currency, and you had to, based on where you were, you used it. And I just look back to what Andreas Antonopoulos had said years ago, is that Bitcoin, being the first in a decentralized currency, it's going to introduce conflict that will come with it. There are three forms of currency that society will play out and ultimately decide what they find to be true money. He says currency for corporations, which we've now seen with Libra. That's the first indicator. Currencies for countries, which we're going to now see with the central banks launching their own centralized currencies, and currencies for the people. The currencies for the people are truly decentralized cryptocurrencies that are not owned by one government, that are not owned by one entity or business. That is Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum, and other alternatives that have no centralized authority. And the Fed is going there. And one thing that I fear happens, and that I think will play out, is that this becomes a totalitarian tool. Like you were saying, Camille, it allows the taxation at a much faster level. And I think that's the battle that we're going to see people kind of face. But they must know that there are alternatives such as Bitcoin. And I guess ultimately I want to leave us with, if you had to give one last advice to people out there that are just looking to get involved, or might have kind of their 401k, they're freaking out, right? Everyone's freaking out. What guidance would you want them to have? This is not financial advice, but what are you learning about that you would want people to know right now?
I would not keep huge cash savings. Just spend your money, enjoy your life. I mean, things are getting pretty bad, so I'm just saying that as just because things are pretty bad. But I mean, I think you should look for hedges. Bitcoin might be a hedge, I think, in the future, because it's a rare enough, it's hard to produce, it can't be counterfeited. So Bitcoin might actually be a good choice to have hedge some of the risk, so maybe if you're new to crypto, just buy a little bit just to see if you like it, and just ignore it. Don't look at it, just pretend it's like gold, it's a long-term investment. You that way, and then you will be a better investor, because I used to be a nervous investor. Now I actually understand the long-term potential for cryptocurrency. I am now able to just put money in and not worry about it. I don't have to check my blockfolio all the time. I just know it's most likely going to maintain value better than my own country's currency, which I don't know what's going to happen. There's no way to know what's going to happen to our country now. It might be completely fine, or it might go to crap, essentially. So you just prepare that things might not be great, going forward, and just prepare for bad times ahead, I guess.
Great, Camille. Yeah. And we're going to keep it reporting to you live from here, so we'll have you back on in coming shows. So that's kind of what we're looking at, folks. So, again, the dollar's collapsing, but there is an exit plan, luckily for all of us today. That is Bitcoin and decentralized cryptocurrencies. If you want to learn about how to buy Bitcoin, you can look in the comments section. You'll find a link to our website, adoption.io, ADOBTION, or .bitcoin.com. You can learn how to buy Monero at learnmonero.com. Of course, you can subscribe to us at the Nonconformist at the nonconformist.io. This is pretty much it. We've been reporting to you live from the bunker. That's going to be it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Camille. again, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Oh, they could just find me on email. Just
What's your email?
My email is KAMILWOJN@gmail. So
Awesome.
if you want to talk to me, I'm open to emails. I don't really, I'm an open person.
There we go.
Sounds good,
Awesome.
brother.
Thanks for coming on.
Take care,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.
We love you, and we hope you enjoy your night.
All right. Good night, guys.